So hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Melissa, and I will be your host for today. Today, we are going to be talking about HR integrations and workflow automations for a future-ready workplace. And today's event is hosted by Workato and Harbinger Group, and I'm very excited to get started with you guys today. Before we actually jump right in, we're going to go over some housekeeping items. Number one, this webinar is being recorded. And this recording will be shared with all of you that are in attendance, along with those that have registered. And then in addition to that, please be sure to drop any questions you have during the presentation and after the presentation. We will be having a Q&A session at the end where our speakers will be answering any questions that you might have. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Sham to go over the agenda for today.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa, for getting us started. From an agenda perspective, we would be covering four main things. So we would be touching upon the automation index report and trends. We would be talking about onboarding, offboarding automations. We have a great customer story from GoCo, and we would be touching upon HR digital transformation. Next slide. Awesome. So before we get started, wanted to thank everyone for your time today. And as I mentioned, my name is Sham Bojwani. I am happy to be joined by Ajay Todkar, who's currently the Director of Business Development at Harbinger Systems, and Erin Phillips, who's currently the Senior Product Manager at GoCo. And I'll start with my introduction. Next slide. Awesome. So as I mentioned, Sham Bojwani, I'm the Director of Employee Experience and Security Operations here at Workato. Been in the IT, employee experience, solution engineering, and security ops space for 10 plus years, with a passion of building teams focused on providing seamless and secure employee experience. And I love building teams focused on this automation first mindset. Outside work, I picked up gardening thanks to COVID, thanks to the remote world. And I have a soft spot for coffee. I love exploring coffee places here in the tri-state area. And I also enjoy occasional long drives here in the tri-state area. I am based out of New York City, greater metropolitan region, specifically New Jersey. So from a Workato perspective, Workato name comes from work and automation. We are an enterprise integration platform. I put us in four verticals. So we specialize in four things. So first thing is we are an iPaaS. So when you think of iPaaS, integration platform as a service, when you think about managing your APIs, that's the first thing we do. Second thing is we are an app-to-app integration platform. When you think of your typical SaaS, on-prem, cloud applications, and when you're trying to connect these applications, Workato has the platform to support that. We have 1,300 plus connectors supporting these app-to-app integration. And third thing is we are a data ingestion, data orchestration platform. When you think about pulling data from your HR system, SaaS applications, sending the same data to your data lake, data warehouse, our platform allows for that. Last but not the least, we are an enterprise automation platform. When you think of a business process and the process of automating it, our platform allows for that. Next slide. Awesome. So as a business technologist and security practitioner, I always refer to Forrester, Gartner, to stay up to date with what's happening in the market, latest trends, latest technology that's gaining a lot of momentum. So, so based on that, we have this study from Forrester. We call it the Forrester 2022 Total Economic Impact. So the idea behind this study is to examine the potential return on investment for a company or for a department that they may realize by introducing Workato automation platform, right? And this report is aggregated based on interviews from Workato customers, Forrester's financial impact analysis, and the results are fascinating, right? As I said, as a business technologist in these challenging times, I want to evaluate products which are going to help my company grow which have like a solid return on investment. So based on that, the return on investment is around 283%. That's a huge number, meaning like if you're putting X amount of time, dollars in a platform like Workato, you will see a 283% return. And the payback is less than 6 months. That's like the first main learning out of this report. And from a dollar business benefit standpoint, the number stands at almost $21 million. That's a huge number, right? When you think about outcome based on this report. And last but not the least, the productivity, right? When you think about productivity from customer experience, employee experience, your HR space, your back office, front office, there is a 88% productivity improvement, right? So this report, again, it's holistic. It's Forrester. It's coming from Forrester Consulting, and it tells a good story when you think about automation and the impact it can have to your company. Next slide. Awesome. So on the same topic of trends and automation index, when you think about a new product or automation, it's the business impact, right? What business impact will this new technology or automation bring to my company, bring to my department? So we do this automation index report. We call it the Workato 2022 Automation Index Report. And this report is based on data that we collect from 900 mid-sized to enterprise customers who use automation in their day-to-day operations, right? Like using automations on their work-related tasks. And the data is aggregated from Feb 2021 to Jan 2022. So again, right, this report looks at companies' automation from department, but it also has a drill down view. So for example, if you look at this report from an HR perspective, right, it's a fascinating pie chart to look at. For example, based on what we have heard from feedback we have gotten based on this report, onboarding automations grew around 256% in the past year. That's a fascinating story, right? Remote onboarding is happening all over the globe. And you need to improve your processes from an onboarding perspective, right? So a big uptick in onboarding. From like a recruitment automation standpoint, it has gone up by 316%, right? So when you think about interview scheduling, setting up those calendar reminders for the hiring manager, prepping up your interview kit, that's 316%. And who's building all these automations? Take a guess. Is it your IT, HR, or development teams? It's your HR teams, right? So that's the business impact we are trying to show here, that with this citizen development, low code, no code, it's your business teams trying to build automations. It's your business team trying to improve their processes and bring efficiency. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ajay, who's going to talk about onboarding, offboarding automations. Over to you, Ajay.
Well, thank you so much, Shyam. That was a good presentation, Shyam. Congratulations on that one. And a warm welcome from Harbinger and Workato to all the participants today. I'm glad that I am a part of this webinar. So a little about me. I have about 20 years of experience in the IT and ITES space. I graduated in electronics, but I wonder how much did I do in that space. So I just switched on to software, and I think that's been my passion ever since. And ever since my stint with Harbinger, I think I've just taken up a great inclination towards the HR and HR-related technology and the strategy, overall strategy. I think like Shyam, my interests are also in trekking, and I love traveling, meeting new people, exploring new places. I'm based out of a beautiful city of Pune near Mumbai in India, and that's where I'm talking to you right now from, and happy to be here. So I think that's something about me, but I think more interesting profile is that of my company. And in fact, if I have to introduce Harbinger, I think we have a legacy of about 3 decades now. We kind of matured from a standard delivery-centric or delivery-oriented company to become an agile, adaptive, and a customer-oriented organization ourselves. I think ever since last 2 decades, we've been focusing very heavily on HR tech as a space, as a sole contributor, and also through our partner network. Workato is one such story, and we're very glad to be a partner with them. I think, as a matter of fact, this is an right example to quote that, Workato just goes ahead and implements its platform, and Harbinger helps configure, integrate, and embed this whole platform into your own scheme of things and your own ecosystem. So I think that's a wonderful example. And I think while our expertise lies in building products for tech companies and in the HR tech domain, our teams are well trained to integrate and configure various onboarding and offboarding solutions for our client. And we have other lines of businesses like the Learn Tech and Content. And I think seriously, they complement seamlessly to the HR tech line of business so appropriately. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I think coming to the onboarding story, I think it's basically streamlining the entire onboarding, workflows and related workflows rather. So I think today companies are giving, are wanting to give that feel-good factor or an extremely personalized experience to the new joinees, or even the employees who are on the exit path, whether for a resignation or a termination or whatever you may call it. I think companies are looking at giving that extremely personalized experience to most of them. And even more so in the pandemic, I think more from a perspective of the work from home models or the work from anywhere or the hybrid models, is calling for companies to become more agile, responsive, mostly real time, and definitely online. So I think thereby automation is becoming the real buzzword in today's scenario and more relevant than ever. I think, with most of the companies trying to do a lot of work in the software-enabled services and customized platform area, it's becoming imperative for the HR department to respond promptly and rapidly to such changing needs. And therefore, I think we have been, we focused, as Harbinger, we focused on two key segments. One is the recruitment side of it and the, kind of onboarding side of it. And sincerely on the recruitment side, I think we look at things like the application tracking systems or any other scientific method of collecting and analyzing data in terms of onboarding employees and new joinees into the system. Credentializing and background checks, automated candidate referencing, and certainly, most of the companies are looking at tracking success ratios in terms of what kind of candidates are being selected and how many of those are getting into the system. On the onboarding piece, we are looking at things like employee verification, self-guided new joiner tours, more like their induction module, automated workflows for onboarding, configurable workflows for onboarding again, and cross-boarding certainly, where we're looking at assessing who might be suitable for a vacant position and training that particular person and getting him into those shoes within an organization, those kind of scenarios as well. And certainly offboarding, where, like I mentioned, where either a person resigns or is terminated or is there or any other for any other reason leaves the organization. Companies are focusing on leaving that good taste at the end of the day for these people or employees. Next slide, please, Palisa. So having said that, more from an onboarding and offboarding perspective, I think it's imperative to see what kind of use cases we have handled as Harbinger ourselves. I think we've done a lot of work around the onboarding solution in itself in terms of actually getting people to integrate with a lot of third-party ATSs out there. So where Workato has been an imperative partner, to get us, help us scale up, more from a robust perspective, scalability perspective, and security perspective, and thereby getting companies to do their end-to-end hiring and onboarding process completed. In one other case, I think, we have had companies come to us from an evaluation of the performance of their employees' perspective. And there we've again ventured out with third-party kind of products, got them integrated, up and running. And I think, we've tried to create some very intuitive dashboards so that these companies can really get the real-time data representation for their decision-making. One other example that comes to mind is, I think, the customer was looking for an exhaustive employee engagement module where they wanted their employees to access documents via the employee orientation workflows or track their health and insurance related data. I think all that was built in a superior fashion and represented again on a single dashboard kind of a scenario. So I think these are only to illustrate, of course. There are many more such use cases. I think over a time of 2 decades, we've gathered enough amount of knowledge and use cases and success stories in the bargain. Next slide, please. We've been contemplating even internally and of course talking to most of our customers and prospects to find out, what out of the HR story can be automated. And what are the likely chances of people embracing these kind of automations successfully? So there's some learnings that we have drawn up out of all of that, and we've seen that if the solution is less technical in nature, is intuitive and has simple dashboards from an understanding standpoint and maneuverability standpoint, it is holistic and relatable to the user. It is a single window for somebody to operate rather than having to visit multiple such windows, and is scalable enough and robust enough. I think people have been, the success stories have been in such kind of scenarios, and more from a perspective of what we have been seeing as trends in terms of automations that are taking place in the industry in itself. I think talent management is one such case where, typically onboarding, recruiting, performance and learning of employees, acquisition, performance development, rewards, surveys, progression. I think those are the things that people are looking to automate within the talent management pool. Workforce management, where, helping people or helping companies to analyze the data for core business processes and the supporting functions of HR. Payroll management, again, is like, determining your payroll policy, gathering inputs, validating those inputs, calculating salaries, and of course, the statutory compliance. Performance management software, where most of the companies are looking at managers to supervise and evaluate their employees at work, benchmark them, and appropriately reward them at the end of the day. Learning and management systems, where typical administration, documentation, tracking, reporting, and delivering learning courses and content. So we're seeing a lot of automation happening in this area as well. And HR analytics. I think the HR department as a whole needs to really have its own dashboard for that matter, where it has workforce analytics, it has talent analytics, it involves collecting and analyzing data, reporting this data on a timely basis for the management to take relevant decision from an employer and employer standpoint. So I think that's more in and around what we have been seeing and what we've been working on. So I think it gives me an immense pleasure. I just think I will hand it over for a typical use case of one of the customers who is using it, and that will be more like a hands-on experience sharing. So I'm so glad to invite our distinguished guest speaker today, Erin Phillips. Erin is the Senior Product Manager of GoCo. She has about 10 years of experience in her field, and she's here today to present the GoCo all-in-one HR story and to elaborate on how they evaluated Harbinger and Workato, what tangible benefits they saw out of this implementation, and much more. So over to you, Erin, and thanks again for agreeing to do this for us.
Thank you for the introduction, AJ. Yeah, so as AJ mentioned, I've been with GoCo as a Senior Product Manager on our integrations pod for about a year, and I've been in technology for about 10 years. And I guess for about that same amount of time, I've been doing yoga. Maybe they're related, maybe not. And I'm also a proud dog mom to a dog named Donkey. I've always been passionate about solving inefficiencies, both in work and in my own life. And so that translates well to what we're going to talk about today. Next slide. Cool. So just a quick introduction of what GoCo is, if you haven't heard of us. We are an all-in-one HR solution, mostly for small to medium businesses. And we make it easy to automate and streamline all of your HR. We have a really powerful onboarding and offboarding workflow solution. You can create custom workflows. Basically, our mission is to help businesses spend less time on manual, painful, or complex tasks so they can grow happier, more productive teams and focus on things that are more important. So while we do have some automations baked into our product natively, we wanted to partner with an iPaaS to explore pushing integrations further. Next slide. All right. So what was our compelling need? If you kind of think about our product strategy at GoCo, we want to solve the 80% natively. We want to build things in-house and really give you the best of the best. If we're starting to notice a trend of requests to kind of like that 20% of maybe more advanced use cases, maybe they're complex, unusual, not as far reaching, we will look to offer another solution. We don't want to turn anyone away. We want them to come as they are. The problem at the time was that we just didn't have a lot of fallback solutions. We didn't have a lot of integration offerings if you wanted to come with a certain tech stack or what have you. So that was a problem that we aimed to solve by partnering with an iPaaS solution. Next slide. We were also seeing a lot of data that was kind of pointing us in this direction at the same time. So we needed to fill this gap of the requests for integrations we were hearing about and our lack of offerings, I guess. We were hearing from clients, from prospects, even our internal teams, having conversations with both clients and prospects, particularly some that you've already heard mentioned by the other panelists today that were increasingly popular were applicant tracking systems, background checks, and even payroll integrations. So next slide, we'll talk about some of the reasons why we chose to work with Workato and Harbinger in particular. So we loved Workato because they have an embedded solution. So we have them baked right into our product. It looks native, it feels native, and it gives our clients a ton of power right there in GoCo without having to log into another system. It also came out of the box with hundreds of apps, maybe something around 400. So already that felt like a win. When discussing Harbinger, we knew we wanted to increase our resources on this project and not have to pull from our internal engineering team as they were working on other features for our business. So it kind of gave us another branch of the business to get things rolling. And in the end, GoCo's goals out of all this would be, of course, acquisition, be more efficient, and retention. So we'll discuss exactly how we're hitting these goals on the next slide and the advantages that we're seeing from the partnerships today. So we're pretty new. I think we signed the contract about a year ago. So we're just kind of at the tip of the iceberg here. But already we went from about 7 to 100 plus integration offerings in that time. And this actually, I'm able to give a unique perspective because GoCo as a company gets to utilize this product. We obviously use GoCo as our HR software. And so we've seen our own HR personnel creating integrations that are specific to our business, but also we get to offer this to all our clients and they get to solve their own problems the way they need them to work. So I found that to be very interesting. For acquisition goals, we were able to leverage our marketplace and encourage prospects to come as they are. GoCo loves to harp on this word, flexibility. We are flexible. Come with what you have. We will take care of you. So we're able to encourage folks coming to us with their tech stack. we worked with Harbinger to build a workable integration. So from that slide a couple back with the data, we knew folks wanted ATS solutions integrated into their HR solution. So we already had Jazz HR, we built Greenhouse, and then we built Workable and also have Liver. So we've like really increased that category. And then for retention, this is one of the coolest stories, I think. We had a client who needed a special integration with Greenhouse. They wanted to do a lot of things. So what we were able to do is build a very generic integration that will work for probably the 80%. But we were able to work with them and spin off a custom integration to meet their needs. And this is like syncing custom fields and firing at a time that most clients wouldn't want the integration to fire, that sort of thing. So that's the sort of flexibility we have with a solution like Workato. We can like really customize the integrations client by client pretty easily. Similar with transferring data that was mentioned by another panelist, you know, you need to take your source of truth data from your HRIS and maybe send it to somewhere else. And you're able to easily do that with SFTP and other solutions. So we have found clients really satisfied with that. And then finally, for efficiency, again, like we're delivering on our internal roadmap while we're continuing to grow our integration offerings. So that's the two branches of our business. We're highly efficient now, and we're working on building out our learning management system category. We're finishing up a lessonly build with Harbinger, and next we'll move on to a 360 learning build. So yeah, these are some of the benefits we've seen at GoCo, and excited to be partnered for these groups.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much, Erin, for joining us and sharing that amazing story with us. I'm going to pass it to Sham now to talk about how to implement HR digital transformation.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. And thanks, Erin and Ajay, for sharing your story. And Erin, your story is pretty inspiring because not only it talks about Workato, but it also talks about like how this whole ecosystem works together, right? You have Harbinger, a great partner. You have Workato and GoCo using like with this tight partnership. So thank you so much for sharing that story. So awesome. So we are going to talk about digital transformation from an HR perspective, right? And like Ajay and Erin, I'm going to make this more conversational so that we can go through this journey together, right? So feel free to like we can make it more interactive. So first things first, the word digital transformation has been around for quite some time, right? Like everyone's trying to get to that dream state of digital transformation. And when you think about the HR digital transformation, I think of this as a change that you're trying to bring in your processes, where you're trying to achieve efficiency and provide better experience to all the parties involved in this process, right? Be it interviewee who's applying for a job at your company, or your employees who are interacting with your HR systems, and the whole onboarding and offboarding experience, right? So with that in mind, we have this 5 steps towards HR digital. Again, it's not mandatory that you start with 5 steps. You can start with 1 or 2 steps and embark upon your digital transformation journey. So like the first step towards this journey is using automation to simplify and streamline recruitment. I think, Ajay, you touched upon the whole recruitment process, like interview scheduling, sharing the candidate's profile with the manager, and interview kit, right? So the idea is you want to automate that whole process. A personal story as a hiring manager, you are in meetings, you are doing context switching, right? And when you go for an interview, it's always nice to have all the information in front of you, right? Rather than trying to locate that information in like 5 or 10 different systems. If automation can make it seamless, where you see the calendar invite on your calendar, you have the candidate's profile, you have the whole interview kit ready, it makes the whole process easier, right? Like, and I'm going to stop here, Ajay. Like, and any thoughts or anything you would like to add from this, recruitment standpoint?
Absolutely, Shyam. I think, and more so, I think getting data into one bucket and getting it displayed on a single dashboard, also trying to highlight those important areas which are going to foster or which are going to enhance your decision-making process, in whether taking that quick sneak peek into, understanding whether really this candidate is worthwhile in terms of spending time on and can move to the next segment or not. I think that quick decision-making process at the initial level, of course, and then once people deep dive into certain shortlisted candidates, then it could be a little more, a little more deeper conversation. But I think until then, that helps. I'm with you on that one.
Agree. Absolutely. And like Erin, I'm also gonna would love to get your take, right, based on GoCo and the product. Like, is this what you guys also see when talking to your customers, prospect, from like streamlining the recruitment process?
Absolutely. We know that one thing we try to eliminate is redundant data input. So if you're already collecting it in one system, we want to share that data across all systems.
Right. Makes sense. No, and thanks for that additional context, right? Because Ajay, you touched upon data and making it easy for the hiring manager. So I would say that's like the first step towards this HR digital transformation journey, right? You are starting at the first component because recruitment, hiring is the first step when you think about HR, right? And probably the addition to this is background verification and streamlining all those processes, right? So moving on, the second recommendation from a digital transformation perspective is, I would say, employee experience focus, right? When you think about new hires or your existing employees, there are always questions about benefits, workplace, and HR policies going through the employee handbook, right? So that information is generally in multiple systems, right? And for example, when you think about a new hire, as a new hire, you already have to go through so many training. You're trying to meet so many people from different teams, departments. And on top of that, you have to stay up to date with all these policies, right? So what we recommend here is having a HR specific bot that is focused on giving you automated response for frequently asked questions, getting you familiarized with HR systems, right? For example, as a new hire, you always have a question about where do I see my payroll? How do I go about getting my pay statements, benefits, and all that, right? So having a dedicated bot, like we have a HR bot here, which answers all our HR questions, right? So that would be a second recommendation. And I think, Ajay, I saw in your slides that you guys are going at the level of VR and like machine learning and all that. Like, do you want to add to this?
Oh, absolutely. I think we are seeing a very heavy push and a trend that's moving towards machine learning and NLPs, like people wanting to, automate or depersonalize certain processes within the hiring and onboarding process, which is typically, especially the interview scheduling part of it. They have chatbots which you actually allow you to, upload your number and upload your CV and then get allow you to schedule your interview slot. And that process is automated. So I think we're seeing a lot of thrust around that. And typically, coming back to your question around induction process, where you want the new employee to have a very seamless process without having to refer to multiple systems and files and folders. I think VR is playing a phenomenal role. You actually just put them on, and then you get your tutoring or learning process, at least at the initial level. And I think lots of companies are embracing the VR.
Wow. I mean, I've definitely learned from this, right? I never thought about VR being used in your HR trainings and onboarding. So that's fabulous. And they say, right, technology is here to solve problems for all departments, for all companies. So that's a great example. So moving on with the third step towards digital transformation, I would say this is more focused on like easy learning and development through automation, right? Like you're always trying to look for opportunity to learn about your teams, your different departments, and also just personal learning, right? So when you think about, for example, as a new hire, you're trying to understand like what the team's structure is, what run books, playbooks does this team have, what's the process, what's the intake process, right? So again, going back to the same story, you can have information on so many knowledge-based articles, but going through these articles is time consuming, right? So I would say probably gamifying this using your collaboration and messaging systems like Slack. For example, we are a Slack shop. Like we spend so much time on Slack, Zoom, between meetings, talking to different stakeholders, different teams, right? And with this remote first approach, everyone is trying to do more with less, right? So probably making it easy for your employees, for your partners, for your customers to find that information easily, right? Through Slack, Microsoft Teams, Facebook Workplace, and a lot of these great a collaboration platform, and making it easy for them to find information, right? Because again, going back to the same point, scattered information can take a lot of time to locate. For example, if as a hiring manager, if I have to figure out like the training schedule or training budget for my team, rather than spending time on 10 or 15 different systems, I can ask a question via Slack, right? And I can provide that link to my like team members so that they can easily find that information. I don't know, like, I don't know, Rajay, anything you would like to add to this?
I was just thinking about our own situation at GoCo. We are also a Slack shop, and our HR just created a new Slack channel that's called How Do I? And they're trying to bring in all of that information into that Slack channel, but it's still dependent on manual input and someone kind of staying on top of that channel. So yeah, it's certainly a need and very interesting topic.
Right. Awesome. So moving along, from the fourth step towards this journey, can we go to the next slide? Awesome. Perfect. So when you think about HR digital transformation, onboarding, offboarding plays a huge role, right? So we spoke about looking at the first step, that's recruitment, going through that interview process, making it easy for your hiring manager. But from that to the stage of like rolling out the offer, going through the background verification, the next important phase is onboarding, right? You want to provide a seamless experience to your new hires because first impression is the best impression, as they say. So automating this whole process of onboarding new hires, when you think about app provisioning, creating that ticket for audit purpose, creating a new record in your HRIS system, right? So that all that is automated, meaning right from the time the offer is rolled out to the time the person starts with the company, you want to achieve complete automation, right? And the good thing with that is it kind of eliminates missteps, it eliminates the waste, and you can have like a complete audit tracing of how the offer was rolled out to the time the employee started with the company. And I know, Ajay, you touched upon this aspect of onboarding, offboarding. Anything more you would like to add from an onboarding perspective?
Yeah, of course. I think, in the way we have seen it, and I'm just referring to a KPMG report that I was browsing through. I think, they referred to saying that out of the 21 responsibilities of, the entire onboarding process or the HR functions for that matter, only 5 of those, the ones which cannot be automated, all others can be, so we refer to basically changing the entire architecture of the system in itself. That's one. Second is the business strategy, because that can't be automated. That is for people to sit and brainstorm and discuss and decide. Organizational effectiveness, change management, and employee relations. So I think these 5, leaving these 5 alone, I think everything else can be automated.
Perfect. No, that's like great context there, right? I would love to take a look at that KPMG report.
Yeah.
Perfect. So moving along, when you think about the next step towards this digital transformation is offboarding, right? you want to automate the whole offboarding process. So right from the time the ticket goes into your probably your ticketing system or your HR system, automating the whole deprovisioning of apps, systems, collecting the equipment, right? And nowadays, with me being an employee experience, zero touch is a hot topic for a lot of IT and HR leaders, right? Where you are trying to provide zero touch experience to your new hires and also offboarded employees. So you can achieve zero touch using automation, right? With like when you think about automation with your MDM solutions like Intune, Jamf, and also like a lot of other partners who help you collect your equipment. So that's like one side of this. And also the next step to this, right? After an employee is offboarded, you want to automatically update your payroll systems, your financial systems, so that there is an automatic entry in those systems, right? And the goal is to not have a manual validation. You want automation to create that record in your payroll and financial systems after the employee has departed. So I would say these would be the 5 things. Like I said, right, you can start on your HR digital transformation journey with like one problem statement, try to automate it, compare the previous and the dream state, right? So to summarize, we touched upon your recruitment automation, we touched upon HR bots that can improve the employee experience, we touched upon learning and development, and the whole onboarding, offboarding journey, right, towards automating those whole processes. I think with that, we are probably ready for the FAQs. Melissa, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sham, Ajay, and Aaron for presenting. Let's go ahead and just jump right into any of the questions that we've received. And if you have any questions that you didn't input into the chat yet, feel free to drop them into the Q&A portion, and we will be answering them live right now. So let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and read out some of the questions that we just got in. One of the questions is Workato more focused on servicing HR vendors or HR professionals themselves?
Probably I can take that question. I would say both, right? Like we work with HR vendors, partners, but we can also empower HR professionals, right? From like process, automation, journey standpoint.
Awesome. Thanks, Sham. And there was a question that came in previously. I know, Ajay, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but maybe we can answer it live and add more if needed. One of the questions were, are investors increasing valuations on ISV platforms based on how integrated it is or how automated the tech stack is?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think it's a resounding yes, because investors are looking at companies that are that have a prelude understanding in terms of getting those connections in place, being future ready from the market standpoint, and thereby I think certainly the your evaluation is going to be upwards for sure.
Great, thank you. Okay, another question we have is, do you have some of your recipes in a community library?
Sure, I can take this one, and probably Ajay, you can chime in. But yeah, we have a lot of HR focused or HR automation recipes on our community platform, right? It's basically you can plug and play with those recipes. So when you think about onboarding, offboarding, your app provisioning, app deprovisioning, and a lot of these recipes are available. So yeah, it is available. To answer your question, yes.
Great, awesome. Ajay, did you have anything to add there?
Not really. Thank you, Melissa, because I think it was more targeted to Workato as a platform.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Nothing much for me to say.
Yep. Okay, so moving on to the next question. How do you deal with data sensitivity concerns? I know our HR and finance departments are hesitant to allow service accounts to allow IT and EA teams to build automations. So the question is, how do you deal with data sensitivity concerns?
Sure, I can take this one. So especially with Workato, we do a lot of data masking and unmasking, right? So from like a if data is going from system A to system B, we have that level of encryption, masking of data. That's one. And the second thing is when you think about data, right? So we are big on change management. So for example, so the question was, you don't want your IT and other teams to touch HR data, right? So what we recommend is having separate workspaces. One is a HR focused workspace that has like more governance, more restriction in place. And the second one is probably your IT Workato workspace, right? So even though if these two workspaces are talking to each other, you have like the governance, the structure, the right permissions between these two workspaces. And we have a lot of customers who have asked about this, and that's our answer, like having the proper change management from separate workspaces dependent on departments. Yep.
So I just would like to add, Shyam, I think, yes, of course, from a product standpoint, and at Harbinger, we have a standard governance model from a security perspective as far as our development process goes. So we have designated and isolated server mechanisms, and the entire pipe is for connectivity is also isolated for such kind of scenarios where we are in the development process. Until the data actually goes back and resides into your server, whether it's an on-prem or a cloud server. Right. I think that particular care is certainly taken on the data sensitivity. And this is a very good question for that matter, but because I think this is something that HR is pretty, it's a very close to chest kind of a scenario for an HR professional, data security. I can understand, of course. Yeah.
Thanks, Shyam. Thanks, Jay. We have another question here that says, what gaps does Harbinger fill in for Workato's clients being an HR tech dev service?
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, so I think, like I mentioned, Workato implements and goes ahead and implements its platform product depending on what the customer ask is. And Harbinger fills in for, the entire integration, configuration, support, and maintenance thereafter. In terms of, and of course, what we bring to the table is our own experience in terms of having dealt with similar use cases with other industry parallels, whether it has got to do with onboarding, it has got to do with ATS integrations, or it's got to do with the standard product build in itself, or even embedding this whole solution into your scheme of things. I think that is where our experience counts a lot. And I think actively our architects, our business analysts, our delivery professionals are extensively trained on the Workato platform in itself. So I think they bring both flavors of both worlds, the standard technology flavor and the Workato flavor. So I think thereby it's a foolproof system for our customers.
Thanks for that, Ajay. And this question looks like it's for Aaron here. This person says, I'm interested in the embedded offering from Workato with Harbinger to handle the development. Would it be possible to see an example of Workato being embedded? Or this could be a question for anyone on the panel here, but that's what they were interested in. An example of Workato being embedded. So
I think GoCo is once a story, right?
Yep.
I mean, how it's an exact model of how Workato can be. I mean, that's an embedded story of Workato in itself. Yeah. But if I'm sure if it says anonymous attendee, okay, whoever it is, I think we can sort of email few stories after this webinar.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we get the details.
Yep. Yeah, and probably I can also share one more story, right? Not from like a HR perspective, but embedded. We have a lot of customers who use Workato as an embedded platform. For example, Zscaler. Again, I'm going to wear my security hat and answer this. So Zscaler leverages Workato as a embedded platform, right, for a lot of their use cases. So basically, Workato is powering that automation engine behind. Yeah, just wanted to share that context.
Thanks for that, John. Okay, we have another question here. Do you have examples on the frequently asked questions, automations, and supporting employees with chat bots? What are the integrations behind the chat box, and how well does the interaction with the employee work? How well does the bot understand the user, and how accurate are the answers?
I'll take that one.
I can take the, yeah, after
Okay.
you. Yep.
Sure. No, because just for the sheer reason that, we've been doing so many bots, for many companies, and FAQ automations is something that is, that is a frequently asked again. Yeah, very popular, the famous one. And then it's, I just would like to say it's pretty effective because, most of the companies are embracing the FAQ automations module. On the back end, of course, it could be like a grounds up bespoke build, or it could be, any of the Google or any of those, available basic building blocks on the NLP that you can, use for such kind of implementations. And we've been doing scenarios on both sides. And of course, how well does the bot understand? You need to train the bot in the first place, because that's a part of the package that we offer. I think, where we build it for you, and then we also have a maintenance contract to train it for a couple of months. And once it's trained, I think it's pretty effective because it's then populated with the relevant questions. And of course, whenever asked, it can just retrieve a standard answer. So I think, I hope I've answered. And yeah, Shyam, if you want to go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. Like same story as you, Ajay, right? We have a HR bot within our Slack workspace. So basically what you mentioned, Ajay, it does the same. We have like FAQs that we gather based on Slack questions that were asked before, right? And from a connectivity standpoint, it connects to Confluence, Guru, Google Doc. So it connects to multiple of these systems. And Ajay, as you mentioned, right, for these systems to be effective, you need to train it. You need to constantly stay up to date with the intent, right? And like, for example, if you introduce a new system in the HR space, you have to train your bot to understand the intent for that system, right? Like the different way that system can be referred to. So it's a learning game, but it's pretty effective. Like we've been able to deflect almost 65% of the tickets from that perspective.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, Shyam. Thanks, Ajay. We do have a few other questions here. How is the current market situation impacting the HR space?
I can go first if that's okay. So probably it's a valid question, right? It's a challenging time in the economy, and like I said, everyone wants to do more with less. So I would say we here at Workato, we actually launched a campaign. We call it Efficiency Now, right? So the idea behind that is we are listening to our partners, like for example, Harbinger. We are listening to our customers. We are listening to what's happening in the market, and we've got the feedback, right? And based on the current economic situation, what we are trying to position is now is the time to be the most efficient version of yourself, right? So despite the challenging situation, you can use automation to improve your processes, right? Achieve the level of efficiency you are trying to aim for. So I would say this is kind of an opportunity for Workato and like probably Harbinger and a lot of our partners, right, to showcase that we can help you be efficient. We can we can help you achieve the dream state. And of course, we are here to support the notion of doing more with less. Ajay, I'll let you talk from like a partner and what you are seeing and in your space too.
No, absolutely, Shyam, dot on. I think, prepare yourself for what's in the future. So I think, this is the right time to invest more so in automation. If the more faster you do it, the more quicker you are at it, you get the first mover advantage. So I think, this is the right time. People should look at it as an opportunity rather than as a threat.
Absolutely. We do have another question that just came in. Is the software industry a major focus for Workato and Harbinger Group? What other industries are usually taken into consideration for HR integrations?
So maybe I'll take that one to go first. I think Yeah, the software industry is, of course, one of the primary contributor to the projects that we've been doing, but not necessarily limiting only to the software industry. We're seeing a lot of traction coming from the manufacturing sector or any of these big conglomerates and enterprise customers who are automating. So I think we're seeing a huge traction coming from that side, and we've executed multiple projects for customers in that domain. But of course, software industry being resource-centric, it's more so relevant, maybe, and it's always on the fore. But I think the other industries are not far behind, is what I can vouch for. Yeah.
Awesome. And same thing, right? We are also seeing the same different industries, manufacturing, emerging companies too, right? So it's yes, as Ajay mentioned, software industries are like the major share, but we are seeing an uptick from other verticals too. Yep.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have a couple of questions left, and then we do have 2 minutes left, so I think this is perfect timing. One question is, how is machine learning being used in HR automations?
So
I'll have Ajay answer that. Yep.
Of course. I think I touched upon it when we spoke about the NLP and the FAQ question automation. I think, of course, I think machine learning is something that is really catching on very heavily, because people are wanting to automate and make it, less, kind of personal interventions. They want the systems and the bots and the programs to talk and take care of most of the ticketing systems, so that the load is off or at least the routine load is off the HR department. And far and beyond that, I think, it's being used for multiple scenarios in the onboarding side as a scheduler, like an interview scheduler, or it has also taken care of the induction process within an organization to disseminate learning and course materials to employees, or also for surveys and feedbacks and those kind of mechanisms. I think it's heavily used and used pretty extensively, rather. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I think we are right up on time. So I just want to thank everyone so much today, our speakers and our panelists, of course, for joining us today, and everyone in attendance. This webinar is recorded, so you will be getting this recording along with the slide deck after this. And again, thank you everyone so much for joining, and really hope you took something away for today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.